Hey guys, so we're starting the next unit, and this unit is all about solving two-step equations. So we're going to be doing two things in order to solve these equations. The first topic that you will see in Alex is just plugging in numbers, though, so that you get an idea of how these two-step equations work. So there are two things you're going to have to do. So what you have here in this chart is you have a list of numbers on the left-hand side that stand for the V. So we've got negative 60, V could be negative 60, it could be negative 24, it could be 48, or it could be 18, okay? So what we're going to do with all of those numbers is we're going to plug them in to our equation for our V right up here where I highlighted, okay? So here is our equation. V divided by 6 plus 3 is equal to 8. And in order to figure out if they're a solution, we're going to take all of those numbers that I highlighted and we're going to plug them in for V and see if they in fact equal 8. So if I do that, I have the first one is negative 60 divided by 6, because I'm plugging it in for the V, plus 3. And I need to figure out if that equals 8. Well, negative 60 divided by 6, if we follow PEMDAS here, negative 60 divided by 6 is negative 10, plus 3 is negative 7. Negative 7 does not equal 8, so is this a solution? No, it is not. Okay, so you're just determining if it equals 8 for this particular two-step equation. Okay, let's try the next one. In the next one, we're plugging in the number negative 24 for V. So we have negative 24 divided by 6 plus 3. Okay, following PEMDAS, we're going to do the division. So negative 24 divided by 6 is negative 4, plus 3 is negative 1. And is that equal to 8? No, it is not. This is not a solution. Okay, let's try the next one. The next one is 48. So 48 divided by 6 plus 3. 48 divided by 6 is 8, plus 3 is 11. And is that equal to 8? No, it is not. That is not a solution to this set. And then the last one is 18. So we're going to plug in 18 for V and see if it works. 18 divided by 6 plus 3. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Plus 3 is 6, which again is not equal to 8. So all of these are not solutions to the two-step equation. Okay? So let's look at another example of figuring out solutions to this equation. So now what we have is a different equation. Now our equation is 61 equals 5 minus 7u. So when we go to plug in all of these numbers, for example, the first one is 2, when we go to plug in 2, negative 8, 1, and negative 7 for our u this time, what you're going to do is you're going to do the work for the second part of the equation. So we really want to just do the work for this part, because then in the end, we're going to see if what we get for a solution is equal to 61. So whatever the work part of your equation is, that's the part that you're going to do, or the adding or subtracting part, okay, and the multiplying part. So in this one, remember 7u means times. So in the first one, we're going to replace u with 2. So we have 5 minus 7 times 2, because 7u means times whatever u is. And I plugged 2 in for u. So if I follow PEMDAS, I have to do the times first. So it's 5 minus 14, which is equal to negative 9. Okay? Now, is negative 9 equal to 61? No, it is not. So this is not a solution. Okay? In the next one, we're going to plug in negative 8 for u. So we still have 5 minus 7 times negative 8. And 7 times negative 8, I'm going to do that first according to PEMDAS. We still have 5 minus 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. And the double negative here becomes plus, and 56 plus 5 is in fact 61. So is that equal to the other side of 61? Yes, it is. So yes, this one is a solution. Okay. And that one took a lot of little scratch work and solving equations. So back to unit 1. So the next one is u is 1. So again, we're going to say 5 minus 7 times 1. And then we're going to do the 7 times 1, which is just 7. So 5 minus 7, which is equal to negative 2. Is that equal to 61? No, it is not. This is not a solution. And then the last one, we're plugging in negative 7. So we still have 5 minus 7 times negative 7. So I'm going to do the times first. We have 5 minus 7 times negative 7 is negative 49. And remember, the double negative becomes a plus. And 49 plus 5 more is 54. And is that equal to 61? No, it is not. That is not a solution to this system of equations. Or, sorry, to this two-step equation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to solve two-step equations. So that was plugging in numbers for your first topic. Now we're going to talk about actually solving a two-step equation, okay? So things to remember when you're solving two-step equations. You have to use inverse operations when you're solving equations, which just means the opposite operation. And you got to work your way backwards from PEMDAS, okay? So instead of doing multiplication and division first, we're now going to do adding and subtracting first, okay? And remember, your inverse operations are adding and subtracting, and then multiplying and dividing. Those are your inverse operations, okay? So inverses undo each other. That's what the next one says. Addition and subtraction, multiplication and division. It's written right there, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to undo addition and subtraction first, then you undo multiplication and division. So undoing something is obviously doing the opposite operation. So in other words, these are important things to remember, right? So in other words, when we are going to solve these equations, again, it's a two-step equation, so we're going to essentially do 2 steps. The first step is going to be that undo addition or subtraction. So undo adding or subtracting. The second step is going to be to undo or do the opposite of the multiplying or dividing. Okay? So watch how it looks in the first example. So in the first example, we have 3x plus 16 is equal to 40. Okay? So 3x plus 16 is equal to 40. So first we're going to undo the adding and subtracting. So I can tell that there is a plus 16 here. So the opposite of plussing something or adding something is minusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minus 16 from both sides. And if you want to draw a line down where your equal to sign is, that will help you there. So I'm going to minus 16 from both sides. When I do that, I get 3x is equal to 40 minus 16, which is 24. So I've got 3x equal to 24 so far. I did the first step. Now the second step is to undo the multiplication or division. So remember, 3x is 3 times x. So in order to get rid of it, I'm going to have to divide it. And again, if you want to make sure that you do it to both sides always. So if I divide both sides by 3, I now get my final answer of x equals 24 divided by 3, which is 8. Okay? And those are your 2 steps right there. You have the first step was that getting rid of the adding and subtracting, and the second step was getting rid of the multiplying and dividing. So let's try the next one, number 2. So in number 2, we have 12 equals x divided by 5 minus 16. So look at what the part that is with the variable and start to solve there. So we have minus 16, so I'm going to get rid of that first. And I'm going to do that by adding 16 to both sides of my equation. So put a line down the middle of your equal to sign if you're having trouble with that. So when I do that, I get 12 plus 16 is equal to 28, which is equal to x divided by 5. Okay? Then I did step 1. So then step 2 is to get rid of the multiplying or dividing by doing the opposite. So again, I'm going to draw my line a little bit down. Since x is being divided by 5, I'm going to do the opposite. And I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. So when I do that, I've gotten rid of it here. And I have x equals 28 times 5, which is 140. So our answer here would be x equals 140. And again, notice that we did do the two steps. First, we undid the adding and subtracting, and second, we undid the multiplying or dividing. Okay, there's your two steps. Let's try the next few. In the next one, we have two steps. It doesn't look like it's two steps, but you'll have to see. This is a special case. So in the next one, we have negative w plus 31 is equal to 222. So when we go to solve this, we're going to get rid of the plus 31 first. I'm going to draw a line down the middle of my equal to sign, and I'm going to minus 31 from both sides. So when I do that, I get negative w left equals, and 222 minus 31 is 191, okay? And I'm actually not done. I have done one step, and it looks like my W is by itself, but unfortunately it is not by itself. It actually has this negative symbol out front. And it's important to note that negative or W or any variable is the same thing as negative 1 times that variable. Since it's being times by negative 1, in order to get rid of it, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to divide by negative 1 onto both sides of my equation, okay? And that's how I'm going to get rid of the negative 1 that's at front of the W. So when I do that, I now get a final answer of W equals 191 divided by negative 1 is negative 191. So my final answer is W equals negative 191. And again, I did my two steps. I did the adding and subtracting, and then I got rid of the multiplying and dividing. In number 4, similar to the number 3, we have 218 minus x is equal to 117. So first step is to get rid of the adding or subtracting. Now 218 is by itself and is currently positive. So if I want to move it onto the other side, I have to subtract it, because that is going to make it 0. So if I subtract 218 from both sides, I now have negative x, keep that negative sign with the x, equals 117 minus 218, which is negative 101. And then remember that negative x is the same thing as negative 1x. So if I want to get rid of that negative symbol that's out front of my x, what I need to do is I need to divide by negative 1 onto both sides of my equation. When I do that, I'm now left with x equals negative 101 divided by negative 1 is a positive 101. So my answer is positive 101. Again, you can look to see that I have done the two steps. I subtracted 218 and then I divided. So I got rid of the adding, subtracting, and then I got rid of the multiplying or dividing. All right, last couple problems. In number 5, you're going to see that you have integers, meaning you have numbers with negative signs, okay? So we have negative 10 is equal to 6 minus 4y. So the first thing I want to get rid of, because the y is being multiplied by 4 and it has the 6 out front, is I want to get rid of that 6. And notice that my 6 is positive. So in order to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract 6 onto both sides. So again, when you're working with integers, take the sign that's out front of the number, not what comes after. So we're going to minus 6 from both sides. When we do that, we get negative 16 is equal to, and keep the negative sign, negative 4y. So I did step 1. Step 1 was to get rid of the adding and subtracting. Now step 2 is to get rid of the multiplying or dividing. So remember that negative 4y is the same thing as negative 4 times y. So in order to get rid of that, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. When I do that, I'm going to keep the negative sign out front because I want to get rid of it completely. When I do that, I get positive 4 is equal to y. There's my final answer. Okay, so be careful with your integer signs. In the last one, we have an example with decimals. Okay, so make sure you grab your calculator for this one. So again, I'm still getting rid of the adding and subtracting first as my first step. And I noticed that my 3.2 that is being added to this u divided by 5 is negative. Okay, so that means in order to move it onto the other side of the equal to sign, I'm going to add it to both sides. okay? Because in order to get rid of it, I need to add it because it is already negative. So now what I have is negative 15.7 plus 3.2, which is negative 12.5 for your one side of your equation, is equal to, the 3.2 is gone, u divided by 5. So I did my first step. I got rid of the adding and subtracting. Now my second step is to undo or get rid of the multiplying or dividing. Since u is being divided by 5, the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So I am now going to multiply both sides by 5 to get my answer. When I do that on the calculator, I get 5 times negative 12.5 is negative 62.5 equal to u. There's my final answer. Okay, so again, remember, these are solving two-step equations. The first step is always to undo the adding and subtracting, and then the second step is to undo the multiplying or dividing. And how you undo something is you do the opposite operation. So use these notes to help you on the Alex practices, and let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.